top of the morning or afternoon, folks. Captain Liam here, Motor Yacht Unbridled. Welcome to Check-In Tuesday. Very happy to have you join us. It's been quite a lot of interaction regarding this Check-In Tuesday. So we're going to try and see if we can add some people here as well. And if you'd like to join, just press request to join. We're trying to get Captain Scott Kidd from the Yachty Real Estate Investor. Caroline Blatter couldn't make it, unfortunately, for her. And my good friend Aleks is over at Puerto Rico at the moment. So, but this is an open conversation. If you'd like to join, please press request to join at the bottom, and we'll go from there. Hi, Captain Scott. How are you?
Hey, how we doing?
Excellent.
Liam.
Thanks for joining, my friend. How's things?
Good. Just got to Houston, Texas, to visit the family. So it's nice to see the folks. So blessed.
You're moving quick there, Cap. You're moving quick.
Yeah, I know.
Florida, Vegas.
Yeah, I got to slow down one of these times. But we'll see.
A rolling stone gathers no moss. That's what I tell my father.
Yeah, next week is probably a boat back on the boat going to the Caribbean. So
lovely.
whatever. It is what it is. What it is.
Exactly. It's a real serious topic today as well. This one, it's abuse and assault. I've had nothing but different things come through the platform, but it is Check-In Tuesday, so it's good to hear you're traveling safe and you're back home this next week, correct?
I'll be home Saturday and then I'll leave Sunday or Monday probably.
Perfect. We've got someone in the bilge, Curfew Yachts in the bilge saying hello. So g'day to Curfew Yachts in the bilge watching. So Captain Scott and I are positive people, but this topic requires all the seriousness, to the point that I just got a message directly to me today saying, "Hi, Captain Liam. I know you're talking about assault and abuse today. This gentleman's got 12 years in yachting, and he talks about a situation where the captain had a heated conversation with a female chef, threatened her in front of the crew in the crew mess, and the chief engineer had to step in, and the captain then terminated." He talks about another situation where a chef was abusing the chief stewardess to the point of tears every day. And no one did anything through the whole charter season until she was traumatized and resigned. His question, though, Captain Scott, we're going to start off, and I'm already kind of getting goosebumps because it's a sensitive topic, but the question really hit home to me, because I've had situations on yachts I've been captain of that I'm not aware of. And you as well, I'm sure, correct, Captain Scott, without names or anything? And you hear about it later. So the question he's asking me is, do captains go through proper training on how to deal with these situations? What's your answer, Cap? Let's start off.
I never went through any professional training. It was all mostly on the job training or reading or learning from other people. It's kind of a tough situation because we don't really have any classes, I think, that deal with like trauma control and stuff like that. We do like on the medical side, but not on the social side, which I think it should be, should be some kind of mandatory class, or at least, because we deal with a lot of people and we do get into some pretty stressful situations that, sometimes we all make mistakes and we all make, poor choices sometimes. But if you're getting constantly berated and stuff like that, that's more of a decision than a choice when somebody's doing that to you, because the consistency is there. So it's not really, they're not choosing to do that. They're deciding that that's how they're going to treat you.
Yeah, and I see Yacht Medical, Ron and the team there. Yacht Medical is offering here to help. So firstly, also, if anyone's got any, needs to reach out for help, please don't hesitate. You can reach Captain Scott, myself. I've just sent a link in the group for Ice One. We'll direct you to professionals. But like Captain Scott's saying, we're not professionally trained to deal with the type of things that happen even on our own yachts. So what I'm begging you, and what I'm kind of asking you as a community, and why I'm doing this Check-In Tuesdays with Captain Scott and different people in the industry, is that we have to check on each other. Correct?
Yes.
So what does it look like? What does it look like in your eyes? And there's a couple of words here that I put earlier. What does it look like is abuse? Silence, isolation, fear of speaking out, power imbalances, and the word that's just yachting. What else does it look like to you,
Mm.
Scott, when you see someone or you hear of someone, or how would you associate? What does it look like abuse and assault?
Well, then when you see somebody that's really down quite a bit, and they're not just from working overwork or something like that, but you see them getting berated and stuff like that. One, when you see it, but when you see the effects after of it, when you see them maybe out somewhere and they're really just dragging and really just very negative, and and just kind of low energy and everything, you really got to kind of check in with them. I know I make a point to check in with people, thus with this as well. I think this is great, this check-in thing. I make a point of everybody on the boat with me. I check in with them and make sure I do it as much like on a daily basis, just to see how they're going on a daily basis. But even you to see it on other boats, you can see it sometimes. Sometimes you hear people yelling at each other. Sometimes you see it, but it's a tough situation to see from the outside, and because we really don't know what the whole big picture is. It could have actually been the other person abusing that person for a long time, and then the other person snaps. It's a tough situation to assess from the outside.
Yeah, it is. And I think as leaders, as captains, our job is to make sure the crew have the tools they need, whether it's a chamois,
Yeah.
whether it's and as leaders, the more I'm learning about the trauma that people are going through, and I'll be completely honest. Hello, Nadia. Wonderful to see you, Nadia. Nadia's a wonderful chief stewardess on yachts, and I've worked with her in the past. But as a leader, we don't know a lot of this. All we can do is help you provide the tools. But I think it's more up to each other
Hmm.
as crew members on an equal level, whether it's a junior deckhand or it's a chief stewardess. It's up to us as a community to either come to the captain, and if it's not addressed, I implore you to go to the DPA. Follow your structure on board, your complaints procedure. That's always my first advice. Heads of department, captain, DPA. But individually, ISWAN is fantastic. Yachty minds
Oh,
matter.
yes.
The more I'm looking into Ice One, the more I'm just blown away by it, Scott.
Yeah, me too. I didn't even know it really existed up until probably about less than a year ago, because I
Same.
had said, because especially when that awful situation happened with Paige Bell, I was like, well, there needs to be like a protocol somebody can call and come get you, and because I was even trying to figure something up like that. But when I checked into them, like they had it all dialed in, and they'll even send people out to come get you and stuff like that. And it's a pretty in-depth organization, which you know if people even just know about it and know that they have an out if they're being treated poorly, I think that's next level, because a lot of times in life, we think we're alone, we're isolated, we're on our own. We don't know that there is this option,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
part of the problem. That can make it a lot worse. That can make it even more traumatizing.
Very much so. And I think when you're alone, you don't want to reach out. But the big one that
Yeah,
I'm, because I listen to a lot of crew, and Melanie just joined from Marathon for Mental Health, and that was an unbelievable
nice.
partnership with Ice One as well. And they raised £15,000. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Melanie, or a bit more, I think, and we'll do it again next year. But what I've learned is the power struggle is real for junior crew, and the stories I hear from crew from other vessels or now online, because I have a bit of a presence, blessed. They're sending me these messages, and to read this about a chef abusing a chief stew. What do you do? What's your advice in that situation if the chief stew's not saying anything to either the captain or to other crew? What's your advice?
Well, that's a very tough and unique situation, because if someone's not talking, it's tough to really figure out what's going on. But you just have to, if you see it happening, you have to just keep asking the questions, like, keep engaging with them. And don't bother them, but just, hey, what can we do to help here? Let's get you off the boat for a little bit, and maybe we need to find you somewhere, because this is obviously not a good situation for you. Let's see if we can find you another position, or maybe find you some time off. But if the captain's ignoring it, then they really need to find their way out of there. Really, it's because it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, but let's be real though, too, Scott. Like, I have stresses. I can't just, although I want to in that
Yeah,
situation, fire a chef mid-charter,
yeah,
for
yeah,
instance. And, these are the other stresses that, I don't know, I think resolution is the biggest thing. Like, I spoke to a Paola from Sage Seas today that's doing a leadership hub, and she was
hmm
telling me conflict resolution on yachting
oh
is
yes,
such an untapped market, not
yes,
for
it is.
profitability, but to resolve issues pre-season, mid-season, one-on-one coaching. That's the type of space I think we need to get more involvement in. That,
Yeah,
excluding the captain, our job's to drive the ship, keep it safe, keep it off the
yeah,
beach and the rocks, keep people happy. So how do we
yeah.
get the tools to the crew to give, or get the money from the owner to give to the crew?
Well,
You
I
know?
I do know that and I'd gladly share this tool with anyone. I have it on my Chat GPT. I went to an event earlier this year or last year. It was a GMO or NGO that was what they focused on, was conflict resolution for high level, diplomatic situations, and also they made it was called non-flict resolution, and they made a
I
Chat
remember.
GPT. They fed all these highly complex personal problems in there, and I actually did some conflict resolution with crew situations, and like just for fun, like I was I made up one, like I'm having an issue with my wife and this and that, and it actually went and kept asking me questions that
Okay.
to where I kind of came up with a solution, which, I mean, that's an extreme case of that, but I'd gladly share that with everyone, because you know it'll at least give you some type of tool to where you can, at least, if you don't want to talk to anyone, you can at least go through with that. And I know
Yeah,
All
true.
Safe Yachting, they have a conflict, like a mental health chat bot that you can talk to, but then if it goes too deep, then it asks you to contact other people and stuff like that. So I think if we could get tools like that out there where people can, at least have an option if they don't want to talk to anyone. But us as captains, a lot of times, if we hear about this stuff, even on other vessels, engaging with people. And I think you said one thing that I think was pretty good. I think it was last week or week before, like, hey, go and engage with the other crew, see what's going on. Go and, hey, we're gonna go hike tomorrow, or hey, let's go have a cookout tomorrow. You guys, but hey, let's go do something. I think stuff like that will help people get out of their, that maybe that person that's abusing the other person just needed to, like, vent, and they were taking it all out on them. But if they had a little bit of a release where there are other people around, that might just kind of subside a lot of those traits.
Yeah, true, actually. But I think it's education. Most of it comes back to a lack of
Yeah.
education. Like, Seize the Mind.
hmm
I know Melanie's here. They do an amazing course, which is like a beginner to first aid. It's just like a one day, I
hmm
think 4 to 6 hours, and unbridled crew. We've signed up for it. It doesn't mean we're going to be experts, but we're going to be responsible for each other. Because
Yeah.
I've had situations under my captaincy where I've been away on holidays, come back, and seeing the look in some of these crew eyes that they're suffering trauma. And then I look around and I figure out who it is who's been abusive. And you have to, as a cap, you have to take it head on.
Yeah.
You have to take
Yeah,
responsibility,
you
and
do.
you cannot say to the crew, you don't even need to hear the story, is my advice to captains who are
Yeah.
somewhat socially aware. Don't get involved in
Yeah.
the story or the politics of
Yeah.
how it happened. Look at the results. And if there's
Yeah.
one person crying daily, you can't blame her. You can't start saying that you're not doing a good job. You have to give her nothing but love and support and respect, and help her find tools. And then on the other side, equally, go to the second party and really give them accountability of their verbal or physical actions. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, this you have to really focus on the solution and the resolution. You know, a lot of times it's if somebody is doing the abuse, there's something going on with them. There's something that needs probably a little bit deep to be dug deep into. But you know, it's us, we're not psychiatrists or psychologists or anything, but we can analyze and say, hey, is there anything wrong? Something's going on back home, or what is it? You know, do you need some time off? Do you need, you know, do we need to do it? Granted, like you said, if we're in the middle of the season, you can't just stop everything and say, hey, Johnny's got a problem. We need we need to sort it out.
Yeah,
Everyone, you know, go. You can't. You have to kind of get them to realize that, hey, this type of stuff will not be tolerated, you
yeah,
know,
100%.
and just draw a clear line in the sand and say, hey, we need to rectify this and figure this out, because you two are like the heartbeat of our, you know, service with our guests, with our, you know, with our bosses and everything. So you have to have a, you know, if you're crying, there's no way you can really hide that. You know, the guests are going to feel that one way or the other. You
Well,
can't be that good at hiding it.
yeah, that's why, you know, they ask, are captains trained? None of the crew are trained to deal with
No,
this. Like,
no one.
Lenka just joined, and she's a wonderful chief stew as well. And she's, I'm sure, gone through situations in her life that have been challenging. And we don't know
Yeah.
how to deal with it. We try and speak to our
No.
immediate friends and all that. So we talked about what to look for. We look for a crew that are quiet, like they're
Yeah.
silent, obviously negative body language, isolation, the fear of speaking up. Even when you ask check-in Tuesdays, how are you? The
Yeah.
answer's, you know, even like my son, I'm great, perfect, mate.
Fine. I'm fine. Yeah, everything's
That's a
good.
start. But
Well,
let me
yeah.
run let me run an idea by you, Scott.
All right.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but when you walk in the crew mess door, like a toilet in an airport, I want to put the 5 smiley stickers up. And I want the crew to press it every day and go to, obviously, an algorithm that tells you how is the mood on the boat, confidentially. What
Okay.
about that as an idea?
That could work. I mean, it just depends on how honest everyone's being with you. You know, some people are a little more reserved than others. You know, ask the same question to 9 different people, you could very well get 9 different answers.
Yeah, true. And Melanie's come up
Yeah.
with a good point. Marathon for mental health. Abuse can be so well disguised behind banter. I think that's very masculine. Really
True.
understanding what is friendly banter or ignorant banter versus malicious banter is tricky, but also important in unpicking it all. And anyone in the audience, feel free to request to join. It's important if you want to have your voice heard or see, or you don't have to put the camera on, or just request to join, and you can have your voice heard as well. But that's a good point, because I think, and I'm going to say, in a still male dominated industry, the banter that we hear in the crew mess is, some of it's quite vulgar and sexist, and, if you know, and religious bias, but
Yeah.
everyone with banter builds on each other, so it becomes a
Yeah.
narrative. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say so, because you know, the way I grew up in my house, where, you know, a majority of my siblings are here. Some people called it, when some people were afraid to come over sometimes, because they said they would call it running the gauntlet, because like if you had something that was out of whack, oh, everyone got on you or whatever. But it was usually like, for the most part, the way where we all did is like the people that we gave the most stuff to was the people that we cared about the most,
Yeah,
in a
that's
weird
very
kind of
Australian.
a way. And it was all done in fun, but usually a lot of times, sometimes it goes a bit far, you know. And I'd say that I would equate the crew mess to that sometimes, because some people are very good at masking that stuff. And I know there's been times in my life where I've been masking it, uh, just through humor and stuff, because that's my defense mechanism, I guess. You know, one of
Yeah,
them anyway.
that's a good
You know.
point. You and I are very honest, and I really implore a lot of other captains to just be a bit more vulnerable to yourself, to the crew. I think it can help the industry. There's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of ego in the industry, but I think the more we break it down and have these type of real conversations, I think it can create a better environment, because the people we're saving are truly victims of this. They're traditionally
Yeah.
quiet people that are learning and they're developing
Mhm.
skills, but they're being abused by people who sometimes have insecurities and fears also. Like
Mhm.
I never see a great leader abuse a junior crew. I generally
Mhm.
see someone who's got insecurities as a leader taking their insecurities out, whether it's their job or they're insecure about personal stuff in their life, and they take it out on crew. Have you seen that as a
Yeah.
trend?
Yeah, I've seen that quite a lot. I've seen it a whole lot in all departments. Just people that
Yeah,
are very insecure. They will more try to push the other person down than try to bring their level up to be better and kind of guide them, because they don't. It's kind of a very, maybe that's the way they were brought up, that for them to excel they had to push everyone else down, which
yeah,
that when you really look at that on a big scale, that's really bad. That's not a very team driven way of doing things, because you're really just all that effort that you're putting in to push other people down, you could be bettering yourself and giving the other guys guidance to where you know you could better the team. Because from my experience, for me, is I want to teach everybody on the boat to do my job better than I can. If they're better than me, I've done my job.
yeah. You train yourself out of a job. That's what I try and.
Yeah,
When you employ someone, it's hard, because I try and employ people better than
yeah.
yourself, or as good as yourself, so you can then grow. And I'm blessed to have such an amazing crew and unbridled, the chief officer, chief steward, chief engineer. These people, they give me an ability to, obviously take time and do things like this, which I think
Mm.
help the industry and help the program. So we talked about what it looks like, with the silence, isolation, fear, how it affects us. I think with any form of abuse or assault on board, it's the crew retention, the turnover is the number one effect. Would you agree as a captain?
Yeah, it's really, that's what and it actually will drive people out of the industry, because you get a couple of boats like this and you just say, oh man, they're all like this, when they're really not,
Yeah.
and it can drive people out, and plus it can drive people to some really hard, substance abuses and all kinds of other things that can physically and mentally hurt them even worse.
Yeah, very much so. And I was going to probably go into addiction and abuse kind of next week, because I've had a lot of comments about it, because that's a natural stepping stone. If
Right,
you can't
right.
solve the issue, then you mask the issue. And
Yeah,
yachting is like a petri dish. It's a horrible little social experiment, for want of a better word, that
yeah,
people get put in this situation that just it's not healthy all the time, and there's
yeah.
not much we can do it. So we talked about burnout, anxiety, shame, broken confidence, loss of passion, crew quietly walking away from an industry they once loved. Is what you talked about. But our job as a captains, our job and leaders in the industry, is to protect our crew. So why is it such abuse, and assault, whether it's sexual or verbal abuse in any form? Why is it so pertinent in the industry, in your opinion? Like, why does it suffer? Even on the boats I captain of, I see it or hear it, and I'm like, this is horrible. You know?
Yeah, I think it gets back to, like you said, that not enough training, not enough education, and also we're relatively, most of us work in a private sector. We're not really in the public eye or anything. We're generally away from a lot of other people, and we're also isolated and everything. So it can bring about a lot of different types of behaviors if we don't have that proper training. And a lot of people come from various different backgrounds and stuff, and some people have fallen out of other industries or other things, and they end up here, and then they haven't dealt with what they came up with. And a lot of us haven't. We become self-medicated and all kinds of other things. So that, like you said, with the petri dish, you throw a bunch of different things in there that where people have not really dealt with their problems in a
Yeah,
proper way, and don't really talk about things. Because I think in society in general, we don't talk as much about
yeah,
the issues. It's been the social media, Instagram culture. Everyone's doing great. you know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
everyone's looking fantastic, you know,
yeah,
but I think you and I, and you know, and there's others too that are open about ourselves and everything else that, you know, and as us as men anyway, we're brought up to be like, oh, we can handle it, we can take it all on, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of times that bravado and that male dominated society is like, well, if somebody's abusing you, you're supposed to just take it, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's hard,
Yeah.
like for me, like you're saying, you know, people with social media dress it up, and that's why I try and go away from the editing side of things. And well, I'm not good at it, but two, I just roll with whatever I've got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same,
Dude, like
same.
I'll be vulnerable here too. Like people say about abuse. Even as a captain, I get forms of abuse sent to me. Like
Oh
in my
yeah,
career, I remember a chef once that was just a horrible human being, you know, back in the
yeah,
day, and he was verbally abusing me and said stuff, and I'm like, man, this is I don't know where you're going with this, man, but it's not working out. Like this is not an
no,
environment that's, you know, whether you've got
yeah,
issues or I got issues, we need to go different paths here.
yeah,
And then, you know, so I remember it was about 10 years ago, and he threatened something, and I was like, the owners, you know, like, and I was just like, and that's a form of abuse to me. Like, where are you wanting to go with this? Like, I'm not a
yeah,
physical
yeah,
person, but I think a lot
yeah,
of people want to vent, and that's where I think the professional help, like getting people to therapy on their early stages, whether it's the victim or the person causing the abuse. And I think that's what we need to focus a bit more on too, is those people that
yeah,
are causing the abuse, they're suffering as well, and they're creating, you know, the history of them going boat to boat to boat to boat causing the abuse is also, you know, something that we need to address. It's like the shark in the beach. Do you kill the shark, or do you try and fence off the beach? You know
that's
what
off
I
the
mean?
beach. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like, so I think,
It's, hmm, I mean, it's a different scenario, you know, because there's, I think we all just have to get rid of the stigma of therapy or even counseling. Maybe every boat should have like a counseling hotline, or just even
yeah,
someone that you can call and talk to, because a lot of times we just need a little bit of counseling, somebody else to bounce something off and just get that out, you know, whether it be, because a lot of times we don't have time to vent things. Like we don't have time to maybe go to the gym or go for a walk. We're on back to backs and
yeah,
stuff like that, and it builds up. And you know, I've always said that if something is small and you don't say something about it right then, you're gonna have to let it go, because if you leave it down in there,
yeah.
it'll come out big.
Yeah, true, true. I like it the same. I have it on board. Is have the uncomfortable conversations. Like if you don't like someone, that's great. That's fine. Don't like them.
Yeah,
I'm not asking you to
yeah,
be best friends, but I'm asking you to do your job, and that's what you're employed for, and do it professionally, and over time get through these hurdles. So you know, there's many different forms of abuse. You know, mentally, physically, emotionally. Financially, I've seen people in situations on board where they can't afford to leave. Um,
yes,
what I did notice is Ice Wine also is not just for abuse in terms of physical or
hmm,
sexual, and I think it's also for support contractually, which I think is important for people to realize. So, what other forms of abuse have you seen on board yachts in your time or in the industry?
well, I've seen and heard of, you know, like you said, the financial abuse where they'll hold the check back for them, you know, because they want to go somewhere. I'm afraid they're going to leave. They'll hold back the bonus or something, because,
Yeah,
and I've always said like that won't. All that's going to happen is once they get that bonus, they're going to just pack their stuff and leave. So because you've created an environment that they don't want to be there, you
yeah,
know, because you're going back on the agreement of, you agreed to pay this bonus, and you agreed to pay them on time. That's part of the contract, you
yeah,
know, and not paying them on time and not following through on your end of payment and stuff. That is a violation of the contract, and that is a form of physical abuse, because yeah, I know pay sometimes falls on different days, you know, holidays, weekends, and stuff like that. That's a different conversation. That's
yeah.
something else. But when
It's a
there's
couple of
somebody's
days.
actually, yeah, when somebody's actually holding it back. But if you need those couple of days, either something issues are going on in your life, if it's late a couple of days, if you don't have the money, you need to really make some financial changes with your life. If you're short, because there's no one in yachting should be short at the end of the month.
No, no. We talk about the financial planning, and that's what we kind of want to talk about now is the strategies to kind of get away from that abuse and financially. Obviously, talk about savings and have that
Yeah,
independence where you can say, this job or this time right now is not worth it for me mentally or physically. I'm in that state of abuse, and I think people
yeah.
need to recognize that, and that's why I want to put the smiley to sad is not just to see consensus of the group, but I want people to mentally say, how am I feeling? Like, am I feeling
Mhm.
in the middle? That's okay. If that's how you are, that's how you are. But if you're declining and you're getting worse and worse over the month, and you're hitting happy one day and then not so happy, and then it gets worse and worse, then you need to really address that and try and find different things.
Yeah.
How do we
I
help each
just,
other? You and I are in a social group, which is
yeah.
um, which is quite well. That's developed from the incident with Paige, and that movement. We've seen some great things happen. Correct?
Oh, yeah.
Some good
De-
positive
de-
steps.
definitely some great things. I just thought about something as, for a junior crew and stuff, maybe put together a mental and physical ditch bag because we have the ditch bag on the
Oh,
boat.
I
You
like
know,
that.
something like that. You put away a certain amount of money. You put that ISWAN number in there. You have
Yes.
you have a couple people you call and say, "Hey, I need some help. I need to get out of here," and you have that counselor's number or what have you. Have your mental and physical ditch bag that because I used to do it for years. I have this every time I get on the boat, I put some money, my passport and stuff, and the crew passports and everything. Especially if we're on a transit or something, so I can just grab it because it's something we're going to need. But it's like, well, we need to have all the phone numbers, other people we can call.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come pick us up at the airport. Whatever. We need to have our mental and physical ditch bag. The crew agent that's going to give me another job.
Yeah.
The whatever. The whatever
The book.
the other groups that will give you support.
Yeah.
So that something like that I think would be, and that could be. What is your mental ditch bag?
Yeah, it's funny. We just got someone called C and Suitcases that just joined, and I was like, that's their company.
Oh, I
C
didn't
and
even see that.
Suitcases.
That's great.
Yeah, they credit bags. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's exciting that we get different people. Oh, there we go. C and Suitcase. Aleks, I think her name is. We'll see if they've joined. If they come up here, C and Suitcase. But we talked about documentation, which I think was a big one as well. So if C and Suitcase want to try and join again in our group, in that safety culture group, the we kind of talk about documentation, um, documenting the actual incident. That's really important for people to understand because C and Suitcase is just saying hello, but if you press request to join again, I'll just accept it. C and Suitcase, I think her name's Aleks. His name's Aleks. Um, but the documentation, why should people document the incidences? And should they just report it straight away? Or,
Well, I think it would depend on the situation. If it's just a small abuse over time, they should probably document that. But if it's just a consistent level of abuse, verbal and maybe or physical, and they don't know what to do, they should definitely document all of it.
yes. So, hello, who have we got there? Is it Aleks or I think they've got, I don't know, poor internet. That's
Maybe.
C and
Sorry.
Suit. Can you hear us? Hello?
Hi there.
How are you today?
I'm good yourself.
Excellent. What's your name?
Sorry. It's Aleks here.
Aleks.
Alex.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us,
Oh,
Aleks.
I
And
think I know you, Alex.
Do you? Small word.
and what would you like to include in a conversation about abuse and assault in yachting?
Um, I did send you a message today,
Yeah, saw
Captain.
that.
I've been working in this industry for 12 years and I've witnessed a lot of abuse and um, certain situation that never been handled properly by the captain or by the management company.
Yeah.
And I don't see changes,
Yeah.
regarding that kind of situations. As I mentioned to you, I was in a situation last year when Captain had attempted assault on a female chef in front of the crew. We all witnessed that. We reported that, and the following day, the management company representative came on board, and Captain got fired. But he's still working in the industry.
Mm.
I follow him on social media. He's still out there. He's still working on the boat as a captain. So, what's
What's the
next?
change?
Like,
Change.
exactly.
Yeah.
I understand that the management company, they trying to cover their tracks as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to be in the trouble within the owners as well. They want to show that, hey, we've managed the situation, but that kind of problem is basically it's like a snowball effect. It just moves on to another vessel.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, I don't see, there's lots of groups, there's lots of chats about
Yeah.
this, but it's not changing because there is no actual law that
True.
Yeah.
it comes to the situation that the guys can get arrested and his
Yeah.
career is over at the end of the day.
Or at
So
least
there's lots of
investigate it. At least investigate
Yeah.
the incident.
exactly,
There's always,
exactly.
it's no defense
Um,
person, but at least the investigation and a report
yeah,
issued, and that follows him, and everyone hears their story. What do you reckon,
exactly.
Alex?
A change in the law. I think kind
Yeah.
of MLC, it needs to come hardcore with those kind of situation that they have to take it seriously at the end of the day. It has to start from the big, big, big guys up there. It's not just us having a chat about this and talk about this and try to find solution. It has to be implemented as an international law to protect us, the seafarer. And I don't feel we've been protect enough, by the law at the end of the
I
day.
agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yourself, Captain Scott,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these incidents are a lot more prevalent than I'd like to think they are because
Yeah.
the recourse of what happens when someone abuses someone, especially in a captain's position, like you said, the management company, they work for the owner and they don't want this to come out as that will show bad management on them and abusive crew, and that could bring up a whole lot of other things for them. But then they do, share in the responsibility, so they should be held to account as well if they're sweeping this under the rug. And if you do bring authorities on, it is documented and that type of thing. And I don't know like how you can petition because I'm not very familiar with the MCA and stuff, but I don't know if you can petition the MCA for someone's license or something like that. I know with the Coast Guard, there's certain things you can do, but it's still a tough call because a lot of this stuff gets swept under
Mm.
because and then this person goes on to get another job. It can happen sometimes where someone did a horrible job as a captain and then they just instead of going back to the Caribbean, they go over to the Med where
Yeah. Well,
may
that's what
not
it's
be
like
heard
often.
about as much.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
horrible, Alex. I 100% agree, and I've got
yeah,
your letter information just here, actually, Alex, because it really touched me. And so many stories that I hear of crew and other vessels and platforms, it's the same narrative. It's these people that are getting away with it. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of companies that are trying to make these positive changes. For me, my kind of mission is to help the junior crew who are suffering
hmm
and giving them a
same.
platform to speak to, Alex. So in that situation, the person that you mentioned that was abused, what would the steps you'd like to see them take, the victims, let's say?
So actually, I was the cabin mate with the it was a female chef.
Yeah.
And when this happened was 8 o'clock in the morning in a crew mess. Uh, what saved her not being hit by the captain was the chief engineer who was standing right next to her, and he kind of blocked her, with his own body. He removed the captain from the room to calm him down, and the girl ran to her cabin. I ran after her. She was shaking. Her hand was like, her whole body was shaking. She was in shock, and the first thing she did, she called the management company, and
Fantastic.
management company said to her, okay, we're gonna work on it. I basically helped her pack her suitcases, And she get off the boat. She basically left the vessel, and she went straight to the airport, and she flew herself back home.
Okay.
I think that was the best way to deal with it. And as I said, the next morning at 8 o'clock, we had a representative from the management company where he interviewed each crew member one by one separately, because he wanted to know, what was the story. And by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the captain had to pack his bags and leave the vessel.
So that's to me is a successful outcome. Would
Yes,
you agree,
yes,
Captain Scott or
yes,
Aleks?
yeah,
Both
Yeah,
agree?
yes.
I would agree. So, but the next step for all of us is to make sure that this incident carries with that person, that they can say, "Hey, what happened here? Why did you get fired from this last boat?" Which a lot of times, obviously, this person's still working, and he's
Mhm.
probably doing the same thing. So, that in that dynamic, we need to kind of go one step further and kind of,
Yeah,
Do you know what's
and that
gonna
refrain.
happen if this captain was for a couple of months on a vessel, which that was the situation? He's not gonna put that vessel on his CV. He
yeah,
will
Okay.
say, "I was on a
true.
holiday. I took my time off. Nothing happened." Right? This management company probably will not hire him anymore.
Mm.
Hmm.
Um, I had a situation on my current vessel when the captain was sexually harassing stewardesses, and I had to deal with it. He also got fired, but uh, I had two choices: call the police, so he will get arrested
Mm.
by the local police, or I had to tell the management company I would like him to be removed from the vessel within 24 hours, and they remove him from the vessel. But
Okay.
I know from my friends who are agents that he's still on the files and he's still looking for a job. He
Yeah.
didn't put my vessel on his CV.
But that's
Okay.
what my concerns. I understand completely
Yeah.
and the path you're going. But my concern is yourself as well, though, Alex, because you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable situation. So it's important that other people out there realize don't just like get people to support you in terms of other heads of department, maybe. Because do you
I
agree,
do.
Captain Scott? Because
I did have that support. It's scary as a female to witness
yeah.
that kind of situations. But because I've been for so many years in this industry, I grew some sort of thick skin.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I am tired. I am so tired of working with that kind of behavior. 5, 6 years ago, I would be scared and I would
Yeah.
keep my mouth shut with the rest of the crew. But today, not anymore.
So what's your advice then? I really appreciate you joining us here, and the letter
Thank you.
today it did touch me, and it gave me kind of because a lot of people ask, "What's the point? What are you doing, Captain Liam?" I'm like, I don't know. I just think there's a message
Mhm.
out here, and I really love working with Captain Scott here and people like yourself. And then I received your message, and I said, "That's the point. There's people here that see suffering, and they need a voice." And I'm really happy you've joined us. What's your advice to junior crew like yourself back 5, 6 years ago, or junior crew like they're 19, 20, 18, 20. These people are
Don't be
joining these
scared.
yachts.
Hmm.
And I've seen more and more crew today, they're not scared to stand up and to
That's
Good.
voice their opinion. They're completely different a breed,
good.
I would say, than we were 10, 15 years ago, which is great. But for me, it's also to have that great help of the other HODs. On boat vessels, I had a really, my chief engineer and my chief officer, they were with me. They were like, "Aleks, we're gonna do it together. We're gonna write email together.
Perfect.
We're gonna speak out together. We are
Nice.
on the same page together." And that's very, very important to have that support of the other HODs. If you
Yeah.
don't have that support, people basically decide, "I'm not gonna do it because it's just myself against the captain, against the management company." But if you have the support of your colleagues and of the rest of the team, it makes such a huge difference.
So, but and being honest here, most of the scenarios you hear in yachting, the abuse is coming from the captain. Is that
Mhm.
correct, or would
Captain, I've been on chefs as well. I've
chef?
been there,
And
chefs,
Yeah.
and it's
I've seen stew sometimes
Chiefs do, yeah.
Chiefs,
And engineers, yeah,
engineers
engineers.
as well. I think people with that they have the role with the power.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about, that power struggle that is
Yes.
always an issue in this little petri dish, this little social experiment of yachting,
Yes.
we call it. So how do we train the people who have the power struggles when they're elevated to a new position? They kind of get a bit of a heavy head and they want to take out things on the other crew. How do we train them in that transitional periods?
That all starts with the captain. Everything starts with the captain.
Yeah, I
Everything
know. I
starts with
feel
the
it. I
head,
feel it.
right?
Push shoulders.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, I
no,
know.
no pressure,
No,
All right.
no,
It's all right.
it's the
It's
truth,
all right. We got
because
broad shoulders. We can do
we're
it.
here. That's why we're here.
if you sit down with your newly crew and you said, guys, I have an open door policy. If you have any problems, come to me. Do you know? If you have any problems, come to your HOD. My HODs, they have our open door policies. We're all supporting you in whatever situation. I think that crew needs to feel that they have some sort of support. If you don't if you don't pass that information to them, the people will be scared. They will not make any steps in that direction to make some sort of
Yeah.
changes, to say something. That's one of the things you have to say at the beginning. I'm with you, I'm not against you.
True. And Melanie, in
Yeah.
the group, they're having a conversation about what do you do if there's no management company involved. You mentioned calling the police. Abuse is
Yes.
hmm
abuse. It's a zero
Yeah.
tolerance policy. I look at it like drugs and alcohol. It's
Yeah.
these things, there is no tolerance allowed. You cannot speak to someone in a negative way and make them feel bad, because the outcomes, it's traumatic. It's, compounding is the outcomes. And then Melanie from Marathon and Mental Health said about the flag state. So I think, the other thing is this Ice One, Yachting Minds Matter, Crew Coach, Seize the Mind. All of these people, even Captain Scott and myself, we can help direct you to the resources. So just the most important thing here is, and we have to wrap it up, is how do we help each other? We document it personally. Like you said, you wrote an email with the heads of department. What else would you say, Captain Scott?
If you can document it yourself, video journal. We all have phones and stuff too. You can, and that'll help you as well, because just getting it out, you feel like you're talking to somebody. Write it all down, and on a daily journal or what have you, and then that way it's documented. And definitely make sure that you have witnesses. Like I like how you brought the other heads of department in, because that way no one can, there won't be a doubt of it was just you. It was other people witnessed this. Make sure
Mhm.
that they're with you to step forward and stuff like that. Because if not, it becomes a much more difficult situation where it's you against them. Because if everyone else too, that's a much more difficult situation.
Yeah, very much true. And back onto your company there, Seasoned Suitcases, Aleks. What company are you with, or are you still on a yacht, or is that your
I'm on a
brand?
yacht. I'm See, suitcase is my nickname.
Is it your nickname? Okay. Because we were talking
Nice.
about ditch kits and
It's yeah,
financial, and then you
No, no,
jumped on this
no.
one.
financial, physical,
I'm
mental.
working at the sea, and I have a lot of suitcases because of
Oh,
my
nice.
lifestyle.
Oh, it's that simple. That's funny.
It's that simple.
Great.
Uh,
That's
I
I
love
am
great.
it.
I am I am a chief stew, and I work on the rotation. I'm actually on my holiday now, and I'm going back in 2 weeks back to the Caribbean to do the
Nice.
Caribbean season. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
All
thank you so
right.
much for joining us.
You're
You
welcome.
really brought a
You're
very
welcome.
powerful message, because, like I say, the reason I'm doing this and the why is I want to give back.
Mhm.
And the more older I get, the more I listen to stories, and similar to yourself, and I feel horrible that I'm even a captain on a yacht,
Mm.
sometimes, because I hear these stories and I'm like, this is horrible. And it's happened on yachts that I've been a captain of and I was not even aware. So, my advice is we need to train the junior crew and put in their face these contacts of IceWine who have WhatsApp,
Mhm.
live chat, 24/7
So,
phone call.
I'm a part of the crew welfare group, which um, it's a WhatsApp group. Lots of professionals over there. I can connect you with them as well.
Oh,
And
that'd be great.
what they actually, one of the members share is a list of all the places if the crew is in distress. and they need assistance from the flag states to Nautilus to ICE1 to all different organizations, but also professionals, different people, different psychologists, numbers, and every vessel I'm at the moment, I always print this and I put it on the board. Besides the
Good.
flag state
Yeah,
and stuff like
Yeah.
this, you know, uh,
DPA.
yeah,
exactly, which is not always working.
No.
You know, I encourage, and I post it on Chiefs Use group as well.
Good.
Please print it and put it on your board, because you know we need that kind of backup of a persons that they may be not connected with the owners, they're not connected with the captains, they're not connected with the
yeah.
management company, but they can help. And you will be surprised how many junior crew members that are coming on the board, they don't know their basic rights.
Yeah, it's true.
Hmm.
Well, that
I
comes back
mean,
to
Yeah, I
onboarding.
like that.
They
zero
Yeah,
come naive. They're
knowledge.
like, this is
Yes,
yachting. It's a wonderful life.
seriously, it's
No.
it's mind blowing that is still happening. So
yeah,
I will be happy to send you all the information and connect you with the crew welfare group, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I
yeah.
do
That
think.
yeah. Well, I think we're both part of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Melanie wrote down in January 1st, 2026 requires the personal safety and social responsibility to include understanding harassment, including violence and harassment. So that's coming, and bullying, sexual harassment. So there's more information on these courses that people are now doing, which is good. But I think the more that's in your face in terms of the crew mess and your onboarding
Yeah,
procedure,
yeah.
I think that's more important than anything. So they have resources to go to. Because I think what I'm taking out of this is the power struggle is the biggest issue. People
Hmm.
have power over someone else in their position to determine whether they've done a good job or bad job. Therefore, they take advantage of that power. Would that be correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to close up on there, Captain Scott or Aleks? Any kind of final words on abuse and assault in yachting? It's a real thing, correct?
Yeah, and then to Alex's comment about the list, I actually we put the those lists up in the wheelhouse and the crew mess just so everyone knows it's there. And I thought it was a great tool just because, like you said, it has no attachment to the management company, to the owner, to any of the other crew. That everybody knows it's right there. They can call it at any time because those things a lot of times we just need to know what our options are.
Wonderful.
Or
And
that we
yourself,
even
Al?
or that we even have options.
Yeah. And that we do care, you know.
Yeah,
And what do you think,
Definitely.
Alex?
Well, I'm glad that somebody's starting those conversations, and I'm glad that the captains are starting that kind of lots of issues. There's lots of gray areas in this industry, but things are happening way too slow. I think we need to speed up a little bit. We are on the second gear. We need to go into the fifth one right now,
yeah, we need to
you
go
know,
big. We
big
need to
time.
go big.
And many tragedies are happening. We didn't know about those things before. Now with the social media, we know and hear more of what's happening on the vessel. We had to go underground as well to create certain groups because we're not allowed to speak about certain vessels, certain captains. We cannot
Yep.
mention the names. But people do talk. People do talk. The crew is talking. They're talking on the dock. They're talking at the parties. They're talking in the
Yep.
bars. They're talking on the groups. But we need to make more noise in our industry to start making those big changes. Definitely.
Well said. Like you said, we're in a first gear, but with social media and now Starlink and crew having
Yes.
access to different platforms, I think the change is coming. And like you're saying, the responsibility does stop at the captain, the end of the day. And that's something that I want all captains to understand. It's not an easy, it's not just to do your tickets and take the job and take the money and walk away. It's you're responsible for people's lives, not just physically. And the more I learn about it, Captain Scott, the more I'm aware that I'm responsible for their mental, their emotional, their financial. This is what makes a successful crew. And that's what this industry is based on. How do you build a successful crew? Is you identify all the stresses so they can succeed. And that's kind of the why that I'm getting involved in this. And we'll wrap it up here quickly. But next week, I'd like to talk about abuse, not abuse, but alcohol and addiction in yachting. Whether it's vaping, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, because I think they're interrelated.
Yeah,
Abuse
definitely.
and it's abuse of an alcohol, abuse of a substance, and that's
Yes.
something that's another dark trend in yachting. And I'm blessed in the sense that I go to bed early, I wake up early, and I do my exercise, and I go to bed early, and that's been my career. And I love the ocean more than anything in the world. It's my family, but a lot of people don't, and they party and they celebrate and they take that money and they invest it in negative things in themselves, and that brings down our industry. Would you both agree?
Oh, I can tell you many
Yeah,
stories that I've worked with that kind of
yeah,
people.
it can cause
Yeah.
some serious
Yeah,
problems,
yeah,
especially if
yes.
people are not dealing. If it's used as a coping mechanism. If people are self-medicating instead of dealing with their problems, it gets. And I know I've done it in the past. As a young person and stuff, and it can cause a lot of other stresses in your life.
Yeah, and on board, and the risk of safety, like random drug tests, I think are great. Like we have it on board, where when I first joined a vessel and I did the whole crew, and I said, I'm not interested in the results. I'm just interested in the honesty between each other. So what is the honesty between each other here, and what do the results look like? And we'll deal with them, but we need to look after each other in a life raft in the end of the day. So let's prepare ourselves for that to build a better team. So join us next week, 1600. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us, Aleks. I really appreciate it. Aleks with an X or a K?
It's with K as it's Alexandra, but yeah.
Alexandra.
Alexandra, nice,
Aleks with an
beautiful name.
K. From
Thank you.
Seasoned Suitcases. Seasoned Suitcases. Right?
Sea and suitcase, yes.
Season suitcases,
Uh,
nice.
Captain Scott, you're a wealth of information. I love the ditch kit that everyone needs to have with them. Financial,
Thank you, my
mental,
brother.
physical, all the contacts. And I'll see you all next
Thank
week
you,
or during the
guys.
week. Anything anyone needs, reach out. Be safe. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.